Hello, hello. Hey, Kim. How's it going on this rainy Tuesday? Hello, Robin. Lois, how's it going? Hey, everybody, as you're popping on, say hello. Mary, you're just leaving to go home? All right, well, if you have any questions, you know where to find me. Hey, Marilyn. Hi, Susan. We are about a minute away from starting. So, I will just say that we're going to talk today about Distress Microglaze. It's a product that's been around a while, but it doesn't get a lot of love, and I'm going to give it a little love today. We might even give it a little love next week if I can find this technique that I know I've done and get some details about it. So, I did some prep, but here's what the jar. It's a little jar. Distress Microglaze. Like I said, it has been a Ranger product for a while, and what it is called is a sealer. So it is a sealer, but it also can be used for resist techniques. And I'm going to show you those two things today. All right. So, and I know we do have it in stock. I had Renee check for me before we came on. Hey, Marianne. Hey, Gabrielle. How are you? Okay. So I did some prep. This I'm going to show. This is two images, exact same images stamped in Distress ink, ground espresso, and I am in a minute going to show you the sealer part, the sealer technique of the microglaze. And then these are some backgrounds that I did with Distress ink. So the smoosh and dip technique. So these are some backgrounds. And then I did a resist. And what I like about this resist technique is that it isn't perfect. It gives you a really loose and kind of distressed edge. So I used this stencil first, which you can see here. And then I used one of my stencils, this lady here, that you can see very loosely over here. Now, when you're layering, you have to be careful when you're putting the the microglaze here. If you go over the stencil and you get the glaze on anything else, it's going to cause your other layer of stencil not to work out perfectly. So anyway, this is with Distress ink. Okay, this is also just tag. This is the regular mixed media heavy stock. Okay, that's what I'm using on everything. These are with Oxides, same technique, the smoosh and drag technique with Oxides. And then I used this stencil here. I use the X's. You can see them here. And I also used this stencil, the numbers. You can see the 5 here and the 9. All right, so those are just a couple of samples that I did so that I would have something to show you. But we are going to actually do them. First, though, I want to show how it works as a sealer. So if you've ever used microglaze, you will know that it is kind of waxy. It kind of is like Vaseline or chapstick. It's used for water-based mediums, so it doesn't work for alcohol ink, nothing solvent-based, okay? Water-based mediums on a porous surface. So no Yupo paper because that's not porous. So this, again, is the mixed media heavy stock. All right. All right. So for this technique, we're going to just use our finger. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to seal one and not the other. And then I'm going to spray water on them. I'm just going to sit here and hope it works. All right. So I'm putting it on my finger here. And I'm just going to rub it over this stamped image. It's clear and it looks a little waxy when you first put it on, and you can kind of see where it might be on the paper, but it evaporates. So where it looks like the paper might be wet, that evaporates and it dries clear, but it still seals and acts like a resist. I'm trying to see if I got it all covered here. Doo-doo-doo. All right, so you're going to put it on, you're going to smear it around. Hopefully not all kinds of fuzzy things. Some fuzz on my mat here. All right, we're going to make sure that it's all rubbed into this porous paper, and we're going to let it dry for a minute. Wave around. Hey, Renee. All right, we'll dry it a little bit, and then I am going to take a paper towel, a dry, soft something, and I am just going to buff it off, and you can see it. There's nothing coming off, no color or anything. All right, so now you don't have to heat seal it, okay? I am only going to hit it with my heat gun to make sure that it's dry. If I set it aside and let it dry for a couple of minutes, that would be totally fine too. But I am just going to take the heat tool and just make sure that it's dry for purpose of the demo. Otherwise, I would probably just throw it aside and get to working on something else. All right, so we'll make sure. If you could see me, I'm kind of leaning sideways to see if it's dry. All right. Seems like it is. And if you look, you really can't tell. You can barely tell. It looks a tiny bit wet, so it's probably not all the way dry, but you really can't tell the difference. So the micro glaze is clear. We'll twist it all around, right? And then we won't know which is which. No, we'll know in a second. All right, so what we will do, the moment of truth to see if I am lying to you or not. This is the unsealed. And you can see when we spray water on it, how it starts wicking and reacting because it wasn't sealed. And like I said, we are using Distress Ink Ground Espresso because it was the only brown that I could find handy. And it's one that was out. All right. All right. Let's just dab that up a little bit so it's not going everywhere. And now, look at this. I'm going to hold it up so you can see how the water beads up? And it's sealed and it's not wicking and it's not doing the things. Voila. So that is, we'll just dry it off and you see, whoops, that was the color from the other side. Here we go. Nothing moved or reacted to the water like normal Distress does. So it really does work as a sealer. Again, water-based mediums, Distress ink, Oxide inks, sprays, probably even Lawn Fawn ink, things like that, water-based mediums on porous surfaces because it's got to be able to soak in to the surface to seal it. Okay. I'm just checking my notes. Hold on one second. All right, so let's take one of these backgrounds that I did, and we're going to use a stencil. So with the stencil, you can use the ink blending tool. The domed foam is really nice because it doesn't get stuck on stencils that have a lot of edges, but you can definitely use a regular foam also. All right, I'm just making this not so bumpy. It's a little flatter. All right, let's use this stencil. This is one of the Stuff by Belle stencils with the numbers. All right, and what we are going to do is we are going to take our little pot of micro glaze, and you'll see that the ink blending tool fits right in there. Bloop. So you're going to put it in there, give it a twist, get some of that on there, and then you're going to kind of rub it into the foam, okay? Rub it into the foam, work it in there, so that when you get it onto the stencil and you start working it, kind of like you do when you're using paint on the foam, want to work it into the stencil. And just like you're stenciling with ink or paint, only it's harder to harder to tell if you've got any coverage. I'm sure that I do, but you know, you like to be able to see. All right, we'll see what happens, won't we? Now, while it's wet, you can just wipe it off. And then if you happen to let it dry, and you can use a wipe or a wet paper towel to wipe it off also. If you happen to let it dry on there and you want to clean your stencil, you can just use hand sanitizer and it will come right off. Okay? All right. And again, this is, it does evaporate, so you do want to make sure that you put your lid on. Okay. Let's see. All right, I got it. All right, so then what we're going to do is the smoosh and drag technique with our ground espresso. So I put some ink on my mat there, put some water on it. Are you guys, everybody still there? I have a pixelized image. I just want to make sure everybody can see and hear. Yes? Give me a thumbs up or a heart or whatever you can do on YouTube. Okay, you're here, Marilyn. Good. Now, again, like I was saying, and I may have used too much water. That might be what we have here, but it doesn't give you a precise image. It gives you a nice distressed image. And you'll be able to see it. I can see it as it's drying. You'll be able to see it in a moment. Now the resist, the glaze on this stencil was around the numbers. So where the ink went is on the number. So you should be able, you'll see like there's I can see the 9 and the 5. All right, so can you see the 9 here, the 3, the 6, all those numbers? All right, let's try some circles on this one. This is also Distress ink. I'm going to try a different color. Sorry, while I look for a different color here. All right, here's a little mini. This is brushed. Maybe it's not. Seems like it's brushed corduroy, but I don't even know. The ink pad seems wet. Good grief. Ah, there we go. All right, let's see what we can see with this. What? When you use a lighter color, like I did, the brushed, what did I use? Brushed corduroy? Yes, brushed corduroy. You get a lighter outline. And you can do multiple layers. So we'll try this little bit with vintage photo. So you can see how you can see it as a lighter layer there for you. You can see the circles. Sorry, I'm not holding it in the camera very well, am I? All right, let's do a little dip with vintage photo here. Let's see what happens. And if you get too much ink on there, you can dab it off just like you would on anything else that you were working on. Hey, Jan, how are you? Oh, you're not late. You can catch the replay. But look at that. Isn't that an interesting effect? The way that you can do that resist with the micro glaze. It just gives you a very, I don't know, distressed effect. Couldn't find my words. All right. Let's do this with oxides. These are oxides here. This is a background I did with oxide. We'll do this. I have a thing for circles. So let's just put some circles on here. All right. See my very well-loved Scrappy Chic flour sackcloth? I'll let this dry for a second. More ink down here because we're using a bigger piece of paper. All right. Now, the other thing that I found out too, when you use it as a sealer, we'll go back to this image that we did in just a second. If you reheat it, it will go on the background that has the micro glaze on it, but it won't rub off the stamped image. So the image becomes permanent, but you can add some ink. So we're going to try that in just a second. Okay, see? Where that we'll use up the rest of this ink here. Some nice grungy backgrounds. I love the distress. Okay. So you can see where you've got that resist being created on your backgrounds. All right, so now when I was watching Tim do this demo, he was burning up his fingers. So I'm gonna try not to do that, okay? Okay. So if we heat up over here, let's just try to heat up one side over here. We'll just warm it up. We'll see if it really works for us regular people. Oh, I probably should have picked a different color, huh? All right, well, you can see that what the side that I heated up took the ink, but over here where there's still microglaze didn't. So if you do heat up the microglaze again, it will allow for background, but it didn't smear the image. So keep that in mind if you ever have sealed something and you want to add some more color. You can heat it up with your heat tool again, and you can add some more color to your background. All right, does anybody have any questions that I can try to answer? I'll say try. I'm just going to do another one while I wait to see if you guys have any questions. Oh yeah, you should see if you have it, Marilyn, and give it a whirl. Creates a very fun resist. And like I said, if I have some feelers out trying to find this technique that I did one time with microglaze and glossy paper. So if I can get that information, we will do another episode of Technique Talk with microglaze. Micro glaze. It's been around for a while. It just doesn't get a lot of talk, I guess. So, and I don't see any questions. So, I hope everybody's staying dry, enjoying a little bit of rain. Go watch the baseball games. Not very many left this season. All right, so that'll do it for this week's Technique Talk. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget we have the Christmas the Christmas Memory Decks class is on the calendar for October. For all of you that wanted to do a Memory Decks class, we've got another one. This one is Michigan Christmas. So check out the calendar. Come in and crop with us. It's almost the end of the month. We'll be hitting October next week. So thank you so much for joining. And we'll be seeing you soon.